The night has come. It's
Good Monday evening, everyone. Welcome to the Light Gate. We're coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We're on Facebook, we're on Roku, we're on Rumble, and we are on YouTube. We have a wonderful evening planned for y'all. I would like to thank our sponsor for our network, Carnation. You do the best for us, and we're very happy and proud to have you on board with us. I'm just going to hand it over to Preston. Let's go.
Thank you, Dolly. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for episode 130 of The Light Gate. We really appreciate you guys showing up. We're very excited about tonight's guest. So let me just tell you who I am. I'm Preston Dennett, your host. My lovely co-host is, of course, Dolly Saffron. For those of you joining us the first time, check out, we've got a huge archive of shows, but this is the first time we've had this guest on. So I'm pretty much going to jump right to it. I do want to say hello to all of you in chat, but I'm not going to name you all individually because we're very, very eager to get to our guest. Do want to give a shout out to Namaste. You are amazing. And thanks for the shout out for our guest. Ben Davidson's work not only has critical implications for the future of humanity, but also supports Dolly's message. Thank you, Ben, Dolly, and Preston for tonight's episode. Thank you, Namaste, and thank you, everyone. Star Orchid, amazing. You guys, the donations really do help us out. We really appreciate it. I see a lot of familiar names here. Thank you so much for joining us. It is awesome. So let me just tell you a little bit about our guest tonight. If you haven't heard of him, I don't know where you've been. We've certainly promoted him quite a bit on this show. I'm so excited. It's a true honor. Our guest tonight is Ben Davidson of Space Weather News. We're very honored to have him. He's the founder of Space Weather News and the Observer Ranch and is the author of The Weatherman's Guide to the Sun and a number of other books. He's followed by hundreds of thousands of people who want to know the truth about how the sun affects the weather on this planet. This is a truth which continues to be covered up and ignored by most mainstream scientists. As Ben writes, the sun affects the weather, earthquakes, our health, and more. The science of space weather is electromagnetic, and the discoveries of how it affects our world are incredible and inspiring. We do have his links in the show notes. Check them out. I'll just pop this up here. Space Weather News is where you want to go to check out his stuff. And also Observer Ranch is where he is based and doing all of his amazing research. So let's just bring him on quickly and let's get this show started.
Hello, Ben. Thank you for coming.
It's nice to be here.
I'm more than excited about this.
Yeah, Dolly's been trying for a long time to get you on. So it's a true honor. Absolutely amazing. We absolutely follow you very closely. Mad respect for you. So thanks for braving all the the obstacles that there are out there to get the word out about what you're doing, because you're the go-to guy. So yeah, super excited.
Outstanding. It's nice to be
here. Thank you. Yeah, big thank you for coming on. So as I told you, I like to start each show by asking our guests what got them involved in their field. What were they like as little kids? Did you believe in all this stuff? What brought you to where you are today to become such an influential voice in this subject matter?
Well, if I'm not careful, first of all, I'm going to really chew up our time with stories. But I had a few experiences as a child. I have always believed in, I guess I will just broadly say what you and most of your audience is here for normally. So I've always sort of been on that train. It's not what my expertise is in, not what I make videos or write books about, but always been right there. My best friend in the world is actually quickly becoming a philosophical leader in terms of ET discussion. If any of you guys have heard of Adrian D'Amico, his YouTube channel is Suspect Sky. He is the author of The Type 5. It's probably one of the top 5 philosophical books written about extraterrestrials in the last decade. It's absolutely fantastic, and he's my childhood best friend. We still do stuff together, and he had a huge influence on a lot of this stuff because he always thought outside the box. He was always believing in, or at least looking into, and being skeptical of what he was told. And I'm not sure that ever left me. I think that I really enjoyed watching how he was as a kid, and I was like, I like that.
All right.
I like that.
Fantastic.
Very cool.
Well, you just surprised the holy heck out of me. I did not know this about you. This is awesome.
Yeah. If any of your viewers don't know who Adrian D'Amico over at Suspect Sky is, or if they're into the more, like, it's not like the flashy, it's not an exciting sci-fi novel, it's more like, hey, like, this book demonstrates how smart this guy is, and that he can actually think through to endpoints and actually say, hey, look, these are things, like, these are our actual options at the end of the day that make sense for some of the big questions about extraterrestrials and things like that.
Oh, cool.
Very
Thanks for
cool.
I haven't heard of him, so I feel kind of stupid right now. I'm going to check him out.
Yeah.
So that's what got you started in this field of study?
I would say that's what got me started on thinking outside the box. I wanted to be the weatherman in college. So I was taking meteorology and physics classes, and I ended up becoming a little bit disenchanted with it, but I did end up, taking a great number of those classes. And then I kind of got lost in my 20s. I went to law school, got a law degree,
Wow.
which was actually quite valuable. That's one of the last places in the world that teaches you how to think, not just parrot back and regurgitate and memorize information. They really teach you how to think, which is really nice. And after that, I knew I didn't want to actually be a lawyer, so I got to work at a venture capital firm doing, like, in their research department. And they were doing research in all different kinds of areas that basically threw me back into science. And I really never looked back. I realized very quickly that between my meteorology and physics and scientific base, and then the way law school taught me how to think, I was really good at interdisciplinary research. It didn't matter if it was a bunch of if it was geology or chemistry or some kind of technology or whatever. Like, we could bring all these things together, and I could understand all of it and think through the process. And I was like, you know what? I'd like to create a YouTube channel where I do this for research that I think is interesting, not just what's going to make these guys more money. Although they're not like the vulture capitalists. They're a lot more like angel investors, like actual angels.
Very cool.
And so I started the YouTube channel, quickly found a lot of interesting things, made some actual discoveries, got published several times, and here we are. I'm finding myself slowly being nudged back out of any inner circles I may have gotten into in the science world for just telling the truth about what is happening right now and how it relates to other things, including your world and several others that I'm sure people are affected by.
Well, it's amazing how quickly popular you've become. Did you ever expect that to be the center of so much attention?
It's interesting. Popularity has come in spurts. When I started the channel back in 2011, it took off quickly and then plateaued. And then something else happened. I don't remember. It took off quickly and plateaued. And that happens every few years, and it happened last year again. To be perfectly honest, I have a documentary coming out in the next couple of weeks, and I'm hoping that spurs a little secondary one. But yeah.
Yeah, you're fighting against forces that and algorithms, on these channels that we have on the internet that are will push people away from you or stop them from seeing you, and it's a psyop literally against a lot of people. And I don't mean that, the conspiracy of it is real. Okay, AI has definitely been developed to do this to us all. Those who are trying to bring the truth out, and it's like a game. We have to play this game with this thing, and your documentary coming out is going to be fantastic. I think that'll do a lot of good for you. Absolutely.
Well, I think people recognize truth when they see it. And hopefully that's what's one of the reasons that you're doing so well right now. So there's a lot to cover. You have an enormous amount of information. I'm not sure where you want to start, but
so I feel like most of your viewers are probably beyond asking the question whether or not extraterrestrials or some other kind of life form is real. But there are some still pretty valid questions, even if you're at that point. Where do they come from? What do they want? And why does it seem like there's more interest in our planet and our species as time is going on? There's an answer for that. And it's the same answer to why it seems like whatever is steering the world is tearing down God and promoting degeneracy and Satanism in like mainstream stuff and media. It's the same thing that I'm not sure how you two feel about COVID and the vaccination, but I'm
a nurse, and I can tell you point blank, I understand chemistry and biology and DNA really, really well. And when that thing came out and I started reading up on it, I freaked out and I started telling people immediately, don't do it, don't do it. And then, of course, the government went the way they did worldwide, and here we are.
Well, I just don't trust the government, so I wasn't about to.
mRNA is the worst thing you can come up with. It is a function. It was a deliberate act on their part. It's a SARS virus that they mutated, and I'm kind of not happy about it. Yeah.
So there's a reason why all of these things are happening.
Yes.
The reason why there's a surge of an interest in our planet and our species. There's a reason why COVID and the vaccine happened. There's a reason why certain things are being promoted and why we're on the verge of World War III, it seems like, and there's unbelievable cultural and social, political division. There's a reason for all of those things, and it's also causing another thing. And I want to describe this one last thing before we start talking about the cause and the source.
Okay.
25 years ago, unless you were watching Alex Jones or something, it was so hard to know about any of the stuff that was going on, right?
Exactly, yes.
It's not like it is today. And the reason for that is because these moves that are being made that are now very obvious were not obvious. They were slow. They were incremental. They were glacial. And they were subversive. They were hidden. They were stealthy. Whoever set it in motion was very patient. But now it's like, it's literal clown world. It's in our face every day. It's blatantly obvious. And the reason why they appear to not care that it's obvious to us, because they've definitely at one point cared to be secretive. There's no doubt about that. And now they don't. If it seems like they're acting recklessly, it's because they actually know there's no time for a reckoning. Right. If it seems like they are tearing down foundations and sowing chaos, spending people's tax money like there's no tomorrow, it's because on a certain timeline and in a certain way, there isn't one. And this is the same reason why there's extra interest in our planet and in our species right now. And it is the reason why a lot of these other things are happening. And that is that our planet has a cycle of disaster, and it is about to happen again right now. All of the signs are there. We are perfectly due in time. It couldn't be more complete of a puzzle at this stage. And, you know, I actually would say that this would indicate that we are of some importance to whoever's monitoring us up there or from the bottom of the ocean. I don't really know. But whoever's monitoring us, they're certainly concerned for what's about to happen here. Probably want to be around to help anybody that manages to make it afterwards.
Yes.
But what's coming needs to be understood. It needs to be fully understood. And it among the 1,000 other things that everyone's paying attention to these days, add one more on the list. And it is easy to pay attention to. The information is there. I compile it every single day. And awareness and a little bit of preparation of the right kind can absolutely put you into the category of one of the humans that, as always with this cycle, survives and starts the next stage of Earth. Every time we're still here, everyone alive today is descended from a survivor. There's survival in your DNA. It's in your blood already. You just got to learn how to work it and give yourself the best opportunity. But we should probably take a step back for a second and talk about what the heck this disaster cycle is and what's actually going to be happening, what's already started happening.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, so unfortunately, a lot of times when people are thinking about a magnetic pole reversal of the Earth, they are thinking about those stripes in the sediment at the base of the Atlantic Ocean, or they're thinking about that thing that happens every few 100,000 years, and that the last one was 780,000 years ago. That is one of two kinds of magnetic pole shifts on this planet. That is called a full-chron magnetic reversal. It takes about 1,000 to 10,000 years to actually unfold.
Now, when you said full chron, is that what you called it?
CHRON.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Well drawn. Yeah.
As in like chronological, like full chron magnetic reversal. Those take actually a significantly long time to occur, and actually due to the fact that it takes so long for this to transpire, species actually are able to adapt because it's happening more slowly, and it's really not as bad.
The extinction list is short. Yeah.
Correct. What I'm talking about is what happens approximately every 6,000 years on the planet, and that is a rapid pole shift, a rapid magnetic shift on the planet, also known as a geomagnetic excursion. As scientists are actually just in the last 18 months or so wrapping their heads around and fully declaring what happened about 6,000 years ago to be a geomagnetic excursion, one of these disaster cycles. Hopefully they'll give it an official name so I can stop calling it the NOAA event, because I've just been calling it the NOAA event.
I know.
What it was.
Well, that's caught on. I hear people calling it that.
I know. They call it the NOAA. I call it the water event. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I don't know what else to call it.
But there was a similar catastrophe 12,000 years ago. That one has an official name. It's called the Gothenburg excursion. It happened at the same time as the Younger Dryas climatological disaster.
Right.
Then 6,000 years before that, 18,000 years ago, there was a major climatological event called a Heinrich event. And at the same time, there was the Helena-Pali geomagnetic excursion. I could go back every 6,000 years for quite a while. Yeah. But the point is that it has been about 6,000 years from the last one. It is a 6,000 year cycle. And everything we would be expecting to see, if indeed what is due in time is unfolding again now, we do in fact already see unfolding at the planet. And not only do we see the signs that we would need to see, they are accelerating and getting faster and faster and faster. And so that's one of those things where, okay, look, maybe for you, that's not definitive proof, but it's a cycle that is told in geology, and it's found all over the world. We're perfectly due in time, and everything you would expect to see is happening.
Yeah, I mean, this is fact-based. You really can't argue it.
No, you really can't. And this is the part of it that is all supported by mainstream. It's just in the mainstream science, nobody's actually come and put all of these things together before, because you really do need to take into account, okay, these isotope dating methods are good, these isotope dating methods are bad. And then you have to get paleomagnetism scientists on board with paleoclimatologists. And then you have to get them to agree on something, and who's in charge. You actually can't even begin to imagine how difficult science becomes at that level, and how as easily bought a scientist is compared to
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no consensus whatsoever, none. And you're right, the part is the difficult part. Yeah.
We had Michael Cremo on the show, Forbidden Archaeology. You may have heard of him. He's basically shown that we've had previous iterations, mass extinctions, and he talks about something called knowledge filtration, saying exactly what you're saying. It's incredibly hard to get scientists to agree on anything, and they will actually censor out true data to fit their scientific model. So, yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, they don't even tell the truth about simple things. There are a lot of pilots in my family. My brother flew. I almost finished my pilot's license, but I went other places. But I was flying already. Okay, I was doing all my solo work. And every time you're coming, every so many years, in the last 35, 40 years, they kept changing the ALS controls on the runways. In other words, you have to line up GPS. And back then we had a type of GPS, it's ALS, and they were moving. And it drove us all crazy trying to figure out, why is it moving? What the hell's going on? We have to reset them constantly. We have people on this planet who know that the Earth is moving in a direction that it's not supposed to. It's not aligning properly the way it should year to year. And it changes when we have these big events that they don't even want you to line up in your head about. Those are the small things. Those are the things that get your attention, and you start asking why. Why the weather patterns changing like this? Oh, they came up with a good one. They came up with global warming, which is the biggest crock I've ever heard of. And it's annoying. They've gone out of their way to steer you from the truth and load you with misinformation and disinformation, so that it's really hard to make a decision in your mind as a layman about what's really going on. That's disturbing to me. Very disturbing. Okay, keep going. I'm talking too much.
No, it's all right. Essentially, it is more than just there's a cycle we're due and everything we're expecting it's happening right now. It's also an enormously huge deal. This happens in such a short time that creatures do not have as much time to adapt. There's about 14 million species on the planet. And interestingly enough, one goes extinct every couple of days.
Yes.
Yep.
And this has been the case throughout history. And they can actually see this in the fossil record, but they also see surges of extinction where it's like, oh, whoa, there's a significantly larger number going extinct. Now, does it make a huge dent in the 14 million number? No, but it definitely means this planet gets a lot more challenging. Something's happening to the life here on Earth. And it just so happens these match up in the same layers where it shows that the magnetism recorded in the rock flips direction, and where there happens to be a ton of volcanic ash, and where it appears there's evidence that giant tsunamis pounded every coastline in the world, and there's extreme radiation and extreme environmental changes, all in these same layers. And it really indicates that what's happening to the planet here is a devastating thing for what we call the biosphere, the life of Earth. And it's actually not challenging to understand why. Here's the most important stuff to understand if you are like, why would this be a problem. Okay, they might have to mess with GPS. I might have to relearn the compass in my area, but otherwise, why do I care? Here's why you care. The ozone layer above your head is necessary, extremely necessary. Now, the ozone layer that's up there right now, a lot of that wasn't there last year.
Right.
And then it was a different ozone layer the year before. And a year from now, it's going to be replaced by a different ozone layer. It's in a constant state of replenishment and destruction. Sunlight, ultraviolet light, helps the molecules come together and helps ozone to form. But the protons and the electrons that are coming into Earth's atmosphere from space, those destroy ozone. Now, unfortunately, as Earth's magnetic field weakens, and, also over time, it's actually in a pretty good balance. But as Earth's magnetic field weakens, it's letting in only a little bit more light, but it's letting in a lot more particles. And so it starts to tip the balance in favor of ozone destruction, and it thins. And this allows more of that harmful ultraviolet light to reach the surface, and which is not only bad for us and animals and plants, leaves, flowers, seeds, insects, all the stuff like that, but that extra ultraviolet light has an impact on climate. So right off the bat, we have a biological and a climatological problem. Right? Or you can call it a radiation problem and a climate problem.
Exactly.
And here's the thing. All of those extra particles that are coming in and destroying the ozone, there's so many of them coming in, they're reaching the ground level too. And those impact cloud electrification. They help water vapor and dust stick together and form clouds. They impact precipitation. They impact the jet streams. They impact the monsoons. And because they impact the clouds so significantly, they impact whether it's cloudy or sunny that day, which means, is it a little cooler? Is it a little hotter? Is it going to rain? Is this going to be flurries, or is it going to be a blizzard? What about this hurricane? Do we get tornadoes tonight or not? Not to mention the fact that it's direct particle radiation, that it too, like the ultraviolet light that is now breaking through, is now a particle source of radiation. So now we have a double dose of radiological, biological problem and a double dose of climatological problems just because Earth's magnetic field is weakening. And while this double dose of radiation and climate change is pounding our planet, a lot of which already has begun, another one of the things that is detectable beginning already, because the magnetic poles are moving, it's not just birds migrating for the winter. Half of marine creatures, thousands of species of fish, turtles, sharks, whales, shrimp, the production of plankton. Which one did you just say?
Frogs, snakes,
yes, frogs. Mammals too, deer, bear, dogs, big cats, all insects. They use them not only for migration, but for navigation to other things, to finding foraging areas, hunting grounds. In fact, some animals actually preferentially flee along specific geomagnetic field lines if they sense a predator. Right. And so while their biology is taking a pounding in an environment that is becoming increasingly harsh and unfamiliar, half the food chain doesn't know what it's doing. You remember the concept, if we lose the bees, we only have a few years left. If the oceans warm this much and some of the plankton dies, the whole planet's going to die. What happens when there's pieces of the food chain falling off the ladder up and down because they don't know where they're going, and it's too cold or too hot, and they're getting scorched by space radiation? No wonder there's a surge in extinction. And it just so happens there is now a sixth problem, our electro-dependent society.
That's right.
You see, the only reason we're able to have things like this cool little red light that makes my face, like this side of my face, look awesome. I don't know, just like I just look cool in this setting. The only reason why we're even able to be talking like this is because Earth's magnetic field is protecting us from the sun, gamma rays, cosmic rays, dangerous stuff from supernova bursts, other things like that, solar flares, tons of stuff. And as that weakens, more of that electromagnetic energy is able to come and allow the ground state of our planet and the electrical activity of our planet to fluctuate at a much
wildly. Yes.
At the end of the day, we're a capacitor, so we can capacitize, we can charge up, and then we discharge, but it needs to stay within certain levels, or else our technologies can fail. We're talking about eventually every grid fails, every cell tower, every satellite there. We're back in the Stone Age. And so if this had happened like 250 years ago, who cares really? Like, we would have been okay.
We would have adjusted quickly, yeah.
When it happens now, the world is really challenged, because the moment we lose that power, in addition to the fact that nature's already losing its mind, basically, for the reasons we've already discussed, there's no water sanitation. There's no water distribution. Within 3 days, there's no food at the store, and there's no more coming. This level of EMP takes out vehicles as well, not to mention all the ag vehicles that use GPS from satellites. There's no refrigeration, so all the food would spoil anyway. There's no gasoline. There's no banks. You can't get any money. There's no ATMs. Everything's digital. The stock market isn't there. There's no internet. There's no 911. There's no heat in the winter. There's no air conditioning. There's no telecommunications. There's no navigation. There's literally, this thing is useless. Your cell phone is useless. There's literally just you and everybody around you, hungry, thirsty. And they estimate, and they've done studies, they estimate humans will begin resorting to cannibalism after about 7 to 10 days.
10 days, yeah.
7 to 10 days. And then
before that, I've studied that too. It doesn't take long. People will go 3 days, 4 days without food, and that's it.
I'm sure there are going to be some people who don't last long, and I'm sure there are some people who would probably never resort to that. They would starve to death before they did something like that. But I'm just saying, like, these are the problems. Like, this is what's happened. This is what's about to happen to our planet. We're perfectly due in time. We can look back in the geology and see this happening perfectly time after time.
Yeah. And how many people do we have on the planet? More than we've ever had before. And
8 billion.
They're all clustered in cities, which didn't used to be quite that way.
I will say that means that and our electrodependence for survival likely means that the percentage of our species that doesn't make it will probably be higher than usual this cycle. However, I doubt we've ever had this many people. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, if the last time it happened, there was 5 million humans on the planet.
Yeah, we'll be.
And like half of them survived. Okay, like not terrible, like tragic, horrible event actually, but okay, they did all right. If 95% of us died in this one, we still have way more than 5 million people.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's kind of like we are so everywhere on this planet. And that's the other thing. What the geology tells us is one part of Earth gets hit worse than others.
Yeah, right.
So humans are going to, like, if we've made it every time so far, we're going to make it again now. Like, no doubt, humans are going to be the dominant species walking into the next age of Earth, whatever that looks like. But you have to be learning to watch for things like increasing runway number changes at airports, or increasing record lightning, which is directly linked to those particles coming in and charging up the clouds. One could actually, if they are actually interested or happen to be maybe incredulous of this claim I'm making, they could look up something like cosmic rays impact lightning, or solar particles and lightning. And, look it up at a source where you're going to be hitting scientific journals like Google Scholar or something like that. Plenty of the papers out there. The point is, whether it's the most extreme weather or of the electrical nature, which includes cloud activity and frankly, tropical storms as well. Or when it comes to There's a couple of super volcanoes that are looking like they're waking up. Like Campiflegree is, in my opinion, the scariest thing in the world right now. Campiflegree, there's no amount of money you could give me to go spend a significant amount of time in Italy. Like, if you were like, Ben, I'll give you a bunch of money to go there, fly, land, have a meal, and fly home. Yeah, okay, it's fine. It's fine. I'm going to be there 2 hours. What are you talking about? But like, no, you couldn't get me to go live near Campiflegree in Italy right now. The ground lift, some of the seismic activity. Luckily, the magma hasn't broken through to a rapid ascent, at which point, at some point, it's going to hit water, flash boil, and that's when you get your explosive volcanic eruption. But when it does start to break through and make the ascent, it could be a couple of days, it could be minutes, and then it's going. And so this could happen 15 years from now. This could happen tomorrow. This one's not going to let us have too much warning either, unfortunately.
No, the amount of volcanoes that are active right now should tip you off, period.
Well, Kilauea just went yesterday or today.
Yeah, and it's bright red hot fire coming at it. It's shooting straight up into the sky. If you looked at the world map that has all the volcanoes active right now, you would see that it's unprecedented what's happening, because they're all trying to pop off now. It's the ring of fire for real. And it's
interesting is there's a lot of them going off. Luckily, they're not having Titanic eruption.
Exactly. They're venting,
all the way up at the stratosphere. The amount of volcanic aerosols and other things like that actually kind of low right now. Like, even though there's a ton of things going off, it's like a ton of tiny little campfires on the planet, rather than a bunch of like roaring explosions. Which is interesting, and it if you think about it. But all of this stuff, one of the best ways to track it is what I do every day. Look at the sun, be tracking space weather. What is space weather? Space weather is those solar flares I was talking about. The sunspots that make the solar flares. The fact that, yes, there is light coming out from the sun in all directions, and it's very important, but also those particles, those protons and electrons, I track them every day. I know exactly how badly Earth is getting bombarded, and I can tell exactly how much Earth's magnetic field, our magnetic shield against this dangerous space energy, is blocking or letting it in. And we're able to tie it to technological events that we see, or meteorological or seismological events that we see. And so this is how we're able to track these things. And we are, in addition to inferring and making implied data, decisions like that, we do every once in a while get something official in terms of the field. And it pretty much just confirms that we are on a downward spiral into this next episode of Earth's disaster cycle. And the goal for everyone should be, do not let this sneak up on you. Be aware of what's coming. So learn it, and then learn how to pay attention without impacting the rest of your life, which is why my daily show, I keep it to under 5 minutes, oftentimes under 4, because I want you to have everything you need, and it basically costs you no time.
Right.
And I want to be as reliable as the sun, which is why I haven't taken a day off since 2011. Weekends, holidays, birth of my kids, the day after I got married, literally every day. But the point is that it needs to be reliable. It needs to be every day. It needs to be accurate, and it needs to be fast, and it needs to be communicated in a way that you can quickly consume, understand, and then move on with one of the 1,000 other things that you have to be dealing with right now. So,
just to survive.
There's probably a bajillion other things we could talk about. But what I have just laid out right there, this is actually all within the realm of mainstream science. I have some specific ideas about how the evidence suggests the details of this event play out that I don't think very many mainstream scientists would agree with me about. So, for example, the power of the major solar event during this. the fact that there is evidence that this is actually the fact that this is a cycle. The cycle is actually caused by the galactic magnetic field.
Dolly talks about this too.
Yeah.
From the ET perspective.
Yeah.
This is a magnetic current sheet out there, and it's
the fact that the Earth tilts over 90 degrees, that crust displacement is real, and that's what sends the oceans into every coastline. Some of the information on that is really fascinating, including it's got one of the most compelling pieces of evidence that anyone can understand. It doesn't take science, it doesn't take math. Anyone in the world can understand it. And you can really just do it by looking at a globe. So everybody's heard about the frozen mammoths in the Arctic up here that they dug out of 20, 30 feet of ice, and they realized
food in their mouth.
Yeah, they must have frozen super fast because the food in their mouths and their stomachs, chemical digestion had stopped. So they must have flash frozen. And so the question is, how do you freeze a mammoth that quickly? And I insist that is the wrong question. It's a bad question. That's absolutely the wrong question. The thing is, if up here right now, they had to dig these things out of 20 to 30 feet of ice, we are 12,000 years into a hot interglacial cycle. And these things were frozen more than 12,000 years ago when Earth was in a glacial cycle, and it was about 20 degrees colder. If they had to dig them out of 20 or 30 feet of ice now, what was it like here when it was 20 degrees colder? And if these things have to eat 1,000 pounds of vegetation a day, what were they eating?
They weren't eating ice.
And the answer is that the planet was like this.
Yeah.
And in the last disaster, it tilted to being like this. Yep. And it's going to tilt again this cycle as well. I mean, what I mean is the right question is not how do you freeze a mammoth so quickly? The right question is, what were they eating?
Exactly.
What were they doing there?
Yep.
So do all the planets in our solar system then flip eventually?
Good question. It's interesting. I happen to think that there's good evidence that that's a thing that happens.
I mean, look at Venus, isn't it like spinning the wrong way or upside down or something?
The wrong way. There is evidence of changes that are happening throughout the planet, and not only changes throughout the solar system, and they all could be an electromagnetically driven thing. Basically, if what is happening to the Earth is happening to all the other planets and the sun, then all of these significant chemical, meteorological, or physical changes that we are seeing on the sun and all the planets, and even in interplanetary space, all make sense. If what's happening to Earth is happening to the entire solar system due to a galactic cause. Now, here's the thing. I do think that galactic cause eventually triggers a mega blast from the sun that I call the micronova, and I think that the evidence bears that out. Yeah. But here's the thing. It's not that important for the overall story. What is important is the fact that even when Einstein looked at the data, he couldn't disagree. The planet turns over. Cataclysm. Huge tsunamis. They can be survived and they can be prepared for. That's what's important. And the other thing is, let's say I'm wrong about the solar micronova, the galactic current sheet, these changes on the other planets. Actually, you know what? Maybe they change all the time and I'm just getting tricked. None of that changes the fact that we have a cycle, a magnetic cycle on this planet. We are perfectly due for that cycle to happen again in time right now. Everything we would be expecting to see is already happening right now. It's about to be a very, very scary time for this species and for our planet. It is why we are being distracted and why we are being torn down so that they can grab as many resources and grab as much power and grab the best land that they can while taking as much of our freedom and as much of our resources. It's why very, very powerful interests are very interested in our planet right now and in our species and all of the crazy things that are happening right now, and the stuff that they know is happening right now. Every government knows about this. Most of the elites know about this.
Yeah, this is connected to the whole UFO cover-up as well.
It is connected to the UFO cover-up, absolutely. It's also connected to the missing trillions in the, in the government. They're using them to build underground bunkers and underground bases. And it's interesting.
Something funny. Just if you want to know if the planet flips or not, I get point people in the right direction here. I hope I am. You hear what I say, and then you tell me if I'm right or not.
Sure.
We have seed depositories. They're in cold areas right now. The one that I know.
All up north.
Yeah, they're in cold. What's going to happen when the planet flops? They're going to be in the seeding area. They're not going to have electricity to get to it. They're not going to have. They have to have them where they need them the most. That's why all the seed depositories are where they're at. Okay.
Exactly. And
people need to wake up. Yeah.
Their plan is to go there and be underground when this whole thing happens.
Yeah. Well, they have mines that they've been digging out forever. They shut them down last year. They're ready to inhabit right now. Okay. It's not a joke. I only know this because I'm Swedish. Okay. I know all about Svalbard. I know. I have people up there. We talk about this. It's a real deal. They have people that are planted up there right now who are part of it right now. And everywhere else that they've got them. You want to know why Antarctica is being, you're kept out of it? It's because they're planning for what's going to happen there after the planet does what it's going to do. Okay? They're ready for it. And they have underground facilities there.
Well, they think they're ready.
Years. Yeah. It's crazy to me. It's like, please get a sheet of paper and start writing all the facts down and then look at it as a whole thing. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I find it interesting that a lot of contactees have kind of gotten this message and they're moving off grid to the extent that they can. But here's a question I kind of want to bring up because everyone talks about the Carrington event. If something like the Carrington event happened today, would that wipe out our grid, do you think? And how different is the great solar flash compared to the Carrington event?
From a physics perspective, it's completely different. From a practical perspective here on Earth, it's only a little different. Good looking dog, by the way, Preston.
Thank you. Duchess, she's huge.
Yeah.
She's 165 pounds of, oh my God. And I trained her in German. God help you if you come in my house. You know, okay? All right.
She's very sweet, unless she doesn't know you. Okay, just go.
Yeah.
I just let her stay.
She always wants to be on the show. That's
just
fine.
Let her stay. I vote that she stays.
Okay.
That's me.
So does she. So
at worst, it's going to be
tail.
At worst, it's going to be 2-2.
So yeah, the Carrington event is small compared to what's coming. It doesn't really even compare.
Small, but I would say equally deadly for our species. What's going to kill our species is not violence of nature. It's going to be the loss of electricity. We are utterly electro-dependent to survive. So you can't even begin to imagine how much of agriculture collapses the moment we lose power. We lose all the satellites.
When are they bringing the ISS down?
All critical I mean, I already went over the list. It's terrible. The U.S. government did an analysis of this, and they said, we're horrendously unprepared, and there's actually no way to prepare our current grids without tearing them all down and starting again. And they were just like, we can't do that.
Not easily.
And so they just decided not to, knowing that a Carrington level event on the sun happens every 150 to 200 years. The last one was 1859. So we're 166 years past. We're in right now. It's going to happen again. And they said when it happens again, 90% of our species is going to die in 6 months. They know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But that part they've made public. They don't even care if we know that part. They know the worst, the solar micronova and the crustal tilt and the great tsunamis and the magnetic disaster and the high extinction potential and the fact that a great number of our species is going to die. And they just don't talk about that. There's evidence for it everywhere. And some of the declassified documents even shows how much they know about it. Not to mention that what Major White took from the Pentagon and from Project Nanook proves how much they know about this disaster cycle. I think it was Linda Moulton Howe that showed that broke the story that they're frantically building the bunkers as fast as they can.
It's why they own Nevada. It's most of Arizona. They're all underground there. They have 2 B-52 bombers underground as we speak, and 1 presidential aircraft, which I find insane. I don't understand why they did that. What in the hell? And I think this is where I get a little flaky about all this, because they believe their own BS. They think they're going to Faraday against it. And I find that comical as heck.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to Faraday cage against this. I think that's real challenging.
I know.
Real challenging.
There's no way, even with like 5-foot thick lead walls.
Well, so first of all, the lead's just going to attract the current. So the problem is when people think EMP, there's more than one kind of EMP. This is not like a high altitude nuclear blast where it's actually a line of sight cascading electron acceleration and buildup due to a shock wave caused by the X-rays of the nuclear blast. This is induction, electrical induction, which means it's not a line of sight. You can't hide from this. It's coming from this way. It's coming from this way. It's being induced directly into the thing.
Right.
There's no hiding from it. There's no Faradaying it. The best thing you can do is hide from the larger currents induced in the crust itself by putting something in a plastic bin or in a rubber bin. That's it. Don't use a Faraday cage and try to grab and wheel.
No, you won't. It'll pull you down. That's right. Yeah.
Just be like, nope, I'm a wall. Go around me. I'm a wall. Go around me. That's how you... If you're going to protect stuff, and bear in mind, I'm preparing for live like a Viking, Stone Age type stuff. But if you're going to do stuff, like, for example, let's say you're like, okay, but what if at the very start having some flashlights and an emergency radio? At the very start, fine. If you really want to do it, great. But put it in a plastic thing, not a Faraday cage.
Right.
Long term, you do need to be prepared to be Stone Age, live like a Viking.
Yeah.
Which is doable. I mean, we used to live that way.
I think it's good to be prepared for where the government's going to sling at everybody worldwide, okay? Because they know it's coming. And this is my point in this. They plan to do some damage before it happens. They plan to call the herd. And it's serious. It's already happening. And if you have the ability to thwart that in some way by communicating certain ways, go off the internet and have walkie-talkies, 5-mile walkie-talkies, whatever it takes, smoke signals, I don't care. If you've got solar, for a while just to keep you running when they turn the power off on everybody, that's great too, because the big thing hasn't happened yet. That's great. But you still need to go somewhere else, because your house is going to burn down, your propane tanks are going to blow up, it's going to be bad, and you need to go away from all of that to survive it. Period.
Correct. Yeah, the people, there are several civilizations who survived the last one, and I don't know how close we're getting to time here, but these are the kinds of things that people need to take away anyway.
We have plenty of time. We still have an hour.
Fair enough.
We can talk about anything we want here. Yeah, it is amazing to me. Now I have a question, because I know that our people I do put your show up every single day. I post it on my Facebook. I post it in X a lot sometimes, but I put it out there for everybody to see. If they're not thinking about it, if they go to me to look for a UFO thing, they're going to see it. And that's important to me, that they hear the truth about all this. I want you to explain to them what it means about the galactic current sheet and just why that's a trigger for this particular cycle and why.
So, anytime you have a sphere magnet that is spinning in a highly electromagnetic environment, it's going to be creating this wavy field coming out of it, around its equator. It's not like sunlight, which is here, but also up and down, and just coming out of the equator like a ballerina's skirt, twirling, as she twirls. and it's this wavy up and down. And what this actually is this is the magnetic fields of the north and the south meeting. And so everything on one side of the skirt is the north magnetic fields, everything on the other side is the south magnetic fields. And the reason why this is important is because this skirt is traveling through the galactic plane where all the stars are. And if you're crossing from one side of the plane to another, it means that the stars in a galaxy are subject to a galactic magnetic reversal imposed on them just by crossing this electric current sheet containing the magnetic reversal point of the galactic system. Potentially on a repeating, predictable, cyclical wave that hits them over and over and over again. And not only is it a big magnetic change environmentally, but there should be an abundance of dust and electromagnetic particles associated with crossing the sheet, because it's acting like a giant electrostatic Swiffer duster in space.
Exactly.
Sweeping up all of this material with it. And so it's a significant electromagnetic event from a particles and a fields perspective. And it just so happens that when you're talking about cosmologically vast scales, when you're talking about stars, and even when you're talking about planets, electromagnetism is where the danger is. It's where the danger is. Oh, there's a supermassive object with huge gravity. Where is it? Oh, it's outside the solar system. Then who cares? If it's not going to come in and collide with us, if it's not going to send asteroids everywhere, if it's not going to knock the moons of Saturn and Jupiter all over the place, who cares? An electromagnetic thing, millions and millions and millions and millions of miles away, still matters. Billions of miles away, it still matters.
Yeah, one of the things we're seeing now is we're seeing more interstellar objects coming in at us. Some of them are from our, Kuiper Belt,
I honestly question whether or not it's this newer technology that's just able to spot them better.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. If we continue to see them coming more and more and more regularly, okay, fine. But if like the next couple of years go by and we get, a new one every 1 to 2.5 years, like we've been getting them, maybe not. I mean, it is amazing how much astronomy leaps every few years. Mm-hmm. They're always working on the next stuff.
Yeah.
It's
amazing to me. Okay, so some of our questions, I've been watching everybody.
Yeah, go ahead and fire questions. It'll give me while you're trying to figure out which questions to toss to me.
Okay.
Whenever I ask for anything, if any of you guys do like good vibes or sending positivity or prayer, I can quit my last bad habit.
Oh, well, now I got to know what that is. You can't just say it, not tell.
You can look at the screen if you would like.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I will say this though: after 20 years of smoking cigarettes, I quit that one day with this, and I also didn't have alcohol for a year.
That's fantastic. Yeah. That's a good thing. One of the things that we're experiencing, and I can tell you as a nurse, and all the years that I've been nursing, I know this for a fact. I've watched it happen. Our biology is deteriorating. We have way more cancer. We have way more brain disorders, more heart issues, more autoimmune disorder. I mean, it runs the gamut with us. They say that autism has a cause. Well, I can tell you what I probably think about that as well. Okay. And we are not the same people we were 60 years ago. My generation, and I'm a baby boomer. Okay. We're tough birds. We stayed outside all the time. We're strong. I'm still strong. I can lift Preston. It is amazing to me to watch the decline in the health of humanity. Okay. And then COVID didn't help, because that's changed us molecularly, okay? But if you're going to survive what's incoming at us, your bioelectric field, your strength, all of that has to be worked on. We have to stay healthy. One of the main themes that ETs, those of us who are contactees, know is their number one message is get your body in order, get healthy. learn to stop polluting yourself. I mean, it's at the top of their priorities list where we're concerned.
I sit here and I pollute myself.
That's okay. Once in a while, I gotta do something. What is that exactly? Oh, it's a vape. Okay.
It's a nicotine vape. It's I love the nootropic effect of nicotine, especially combined with caffeine in the middle of the day.
Yeah, well, I'm a caffeine addict, so I understand that.
Those two nootropics together really have created greatness many a time on this planet before.
Well, if you're not putting all the other crap chemicals in it.
No, I eat super clean. I'm that dude who will like not realize how much I'm blocking the aisle at the grocery store because I'm like this close to the label, reading all the stuff, making sure few ingredients as possible, no seed oils, all that stuff.
No genetic.
Right, exactly.
All right, I'm going to pop up some questions because I've got a bunch of them starred, and you've probably answered a lot of these 1,000 times. So I apologize.
Yellowstone will not blow. That question is asking how's the new Valley of the Sun. When you throw it at that, it's a lot easier for me to read it. I appreciate that. They're asking how will the new Valley of the Sun be affected if Yellowstone blows? Well, first of all, people are going to wonder what the new Valley of the Sun is. That's the primary survival area in North America. It is the eastern front of the Rockies, which is basically, it runs from Mexico up through Albuquerque, New Mexico, Los Alamos, Trinidad and Colorado, up through Colorado Springs, Denver, although you don't want to be in Denver or any big city, runs up into Wyoming, Idaho, parts of Montana, and into Alberta. Alberta is part of this as well. Luckily, Yellowstone is not going to blow. Yellowstone is very broken. It has the best pressure release valve system in the world.
That's exactly what Dolly was saying, yeah.
The very things that cause people or that people fearmonger about when it comes to Yellowstone on the internet are the very things that tell us it can't have an explosive eruption. It can have an effusive eruption, which is the bubbling over like what happens in Hawaii, but it can't have the explosive violent one. And that's because you have to build pressure, tons of pressure for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And every time pressure starts to build up there, geysers go off, or there's seismic activity, or there's a geothermal release. I notice also that every time it's the exact seasonal migration time through Yellowstone, the people on the internet are like, the animals are fleeing Yellowstone. It's like, no, they're migrating through. So put it this way, I wouldn't want to be right next to Yellowstone. I certainly wouldn't want to be downhill of Yellowstone.
No.
In terms of the explosive risk that would kill half the country and bury the rest in 20 to 30 feet of ash, that one's not happening this cycle. It's currently broken. Is that forever? Maybe not. Probably not. But it's certainly broken right now in terms of being an explosive eruption threat. Good question, though.
Interestingly, I'm just kind of throwing this in as an aside. I read in, I forget where it was, in some of my UFO magazines that there's Australian Aborigines have an oral history going all the way back to the previous cycle, where they recall the Earth actually tilting on its axis, the skies changing, mountains becoming valleys, the seas rushing in, the whole deal. They remember it. And that's, absolute mouth-to-mouth oral history.
Yeah, there's a bunch of that in India as well.
Oh, very cool.
Bunch of that.
All right. This is kind of a funny question. Leah Omega, are we going to end up underwater or underground?
Depends where you are. All right, so if you want to, so here's what I was starting to say a bit earlier. Every instance of large-scale civilizational survival, I'm sure there's going to be stragglers who manage to survive or get lucky in the craziest of ways all over the world. But in terms of like established like tribes or civilizations that survived through and actually carried these things, they were not right by the ocean. They were not at low elevation, and they had a way to hide underground. The Aboriginals also talk about the tunnels they have that go all the way through under Australia. There's things like Derinkuyu, Cappadocia, and Turkey, the huge underground cities. Where I live here in Colorado, there's the cliff dwellings. I actually went and explored them. They're incredible. They're so cool. Wow. And you can tell that they were designed to survive something really bad. A good way to know if you are far enough away from the ocean and if you're high enough. You want to take your elevation in feet plus your distance to the ocean in miles. If that number is 5,000 or above, you are in great shape. 4,000 and above, you've given yourself a real good shot. You start getting lower, and maybe you need to start thinking about, hey, what if I need to float away? What if I need to quickly get myself, my family, my supplies on something that floats and just ride this wave out of here, which will absolutely be possible.
Yeah.
Absolutely be possible to just float away and start again wherever you land.
That's
Have
a
a
good one.
boat, no matter where you are, out in the desert.
Yeah.
Have a boat.
I would say under 3,000 for that equation, you should 100% have a float away plan. 100%. And it doesn't have to be super elaborate. You don't have to build Noah's magnificent ark. It should be able to house everyone you would want to take and your essential supplies. But yeah, if you do that equation and you're under 3,000, you definitely need a float away plan, as well as all of the other prepping stuff. Most ignored thing in terms of normal prepping that people forget about is knowledge, skills. You need books. You can't learn everything right now. You can learn some things.
Right.
Books are very important. Manuals.
Yeah, make your own seed vault. Make it as compact as you can, and keep it in things that are not going to let it get wet. Absolutely, and stay together. You can have a food supply long enough for 2 years, but you still got to be able to plant something and eat it after that. Or you need to be able to hunt. These are all skills that you got to have.
Learn to live like people lived 150 years ago.
Yes.
Right.
People lived just fine. They did it.
Right.
It's absolutely doable. And just going to say what you were talking about in terms of elevation. I don't know if it was Edgar Casey or Gordon Michael Scallion or some quote prophet. So that California will become the islands of California. So perhaps there's certain areas, in high enough elevation that people can survive. But
eventually the waters recede. Assuming the San Andreas doesn't break California off and sink it to the bottom of the Pacific, I imagine after the waters recede, plenty of California will be left.
It's mostly at sea
level
all the way up. I've driven up and it's mostly sea level.
Yeah,
except for the Sierras.
I would say that any levels of elevation are going to still be there afterwards. A lot of them will be, but a lot of them will probably get flooded initially as well in the event. I can tell you that the way it appears, the quick version of what I was mentioning before, Major Maynard E. White led Project Nanook up into the Arctic, and that's where they found the first real solid evidence of this magnetic pole shift. But not only that, the fact that the Earth turns over and tilts back 90 degrees when this happens, and that it seems to tilt and then tilt back, and it's pretty uniform. Like it likes going to the same places when it tilts over and over again.
So how long does that take? Is that like a 5-minute thing or an all-day thing?
All day thing.
Yeah.
All day thing.
24 hours.
Yeah.
Still, that's enough to send up huge tsunamis.
It absolutely is. But interestingly, it requires only an acceleration and then deceleration, to stop again at approximately 17 miles per hour per minute. To give you an idea, you take about 17 miles per hour per second accelerative force every time you stop at a stop sign.
Right.
And so could you feel 17 miles per hour per minute? You might be able to feel that.
You'll see it.
Is it gonna throw you into walls? No. Is it gonna if you're sprinting full speed, could it give you enough of a nudge that maybe as you're pulling your leg forward, you accidentally kick your own foot and trip over your own feet and fall?
Sure.
If you are sauntering, if you're just walking, it's not going to knock you over. It's not going to knock you over.
You could, what where you are, you'll see it, right?
If you've never been on a flat escalator, in the airports, those long runway escalators where you just go along this, it's about like that. That's about 17 miles an hour right there. And you run back and forth on it, and you can do all kinds of things. It might throw you off a couple of times, but you'll be okay. Yeah.
Just watching the stars suddenly moving, or the sun, or wherever you happen to be. Night could become day, essentially.
Indeed. And
Mhm.
basically, if you tilt 90 degrees, a third of the stars that you could see before, you can't see anymore. So that's the third of the stars being thrown from the sky.
Right.
Uh, a lot that's often interpreted as like a meteor shower.
Yeah.
The ancients had nothing to do but look at the sky. They knew what meteors were. They had words for them.
Right.
You know, they didn't need to say, if it was a meteor shower, they would have known what it was, and they wouldn't have said a third of the stars thrown from the sky or something. And there's versions of that from India, from South America, from Australia. It's not just in the Bible. There's a lot of good historical stuff in the Bible, actually, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. It amazes me. Humanity has always been really good at leaving something behind to tell the story of something. You know, we're good repeaters of our events, you know, and you just have to use your common sense and realize that these aren't myths. They actually happened. You just have to see it from their perspective, from their point of view, you know, from where they're thinking. When I was younger, I used to teach Bible school, and one of my big things was to, you know, you can't understand how they lived unless you try to live like that. You know, these are just words. They don't mean anything to you until you actually try to experiment with it and see how it is. And we need to start thinking like that. We need to start putting ourselves in their shoes, not from what we're thinking, but from what they're thinking. And it changes things to where the light bulb starts snapping in your head and you go, oh, you know. Okay.
There was a reality TV show where they made people live in pioneer days. It was a riot because they had a real hard time with it.
I bet they did. I bet they did. But, you know, here's the thing. We really do step up sometimes when the pressure's there. We are an amazing species. And there are some pretty resilient people. Pretty resilient people. I meet them at Observer Ranch all the time. You wouldn't, but the kind of people who are into this and who have set their mind to it. I've been doing this now for almost 15 years. There are people who
I have to get the dog. Be right back.
Genuinely applied themselves to getting ready for this, and some of the situations that they're in, some of the, you know, they'll bring me photos or they'll bring me schematics or they'll tell me to take a look at these coordinates on satellite or something.
That's deep diving there. Yeah.
People are going to make it, and there's still time. There's still time, but you need to understand what's going to happen. You need to make sure it doesn't sneak up on you. And you need to keep up with that information in a way that doesn't disrupt your life, which is why I combine all of it every day and deliver it in about 4 minutes. So you can just, all right, like, oh, I'm pooping in the morning, or I'm drinking my coffee. And you literally don't even have to miss or change your schedule or do anything in your day. It's just like,
just got it. It's the morning news. Yeah.
It's going to come out at sunrise in America every single day.
That's right.
And then you have to like find a way to carve out time to prepare you, your family, your situation, your location, or get to a new location if where you are isn't going to be a good spot.
Right. Yeah, we humans are very comfortable sometimes in what they're living, and they really have a hard time giving up what they consider their comfort, you know. And I the only thing I could say to that is knowledge sets you free from wanting things that are not going to help you survive properly, you know. It's not so good to buy the Xbox every Christmas when you could spend that money on something else that'll help you in the future, you know. And we all need to start thinking in that direction, you know. Survival isn't easy. It's not a game. It's something you plan for, and you execute the plan, you know. And it doesn't have to happen overnight. You're right. You just do a little bit every day, you know. It's like
$300 can give you enough beans and rice and pasta for a year.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not a bad investment. Just saying.
It's good for people to learn how to deal with chickens, cows, sheep, goats.
Yep.
We have our. It's awesome.
I was thinking about doing goats, but they poop too much. I'm not in. No. Rather have a cow. So I'm thinking about that maybe. We have to worry about our animals too, because our animals are as dependent as we are on technology, some of them, and cows are in that group. Okay. There are wild animals that you can mass use for food, like pigs, poultry. Those animals are easier to manage without the need of electricity. They're animals that are easily survivable along with us, But when you've got a cow that has to, you have to get that cow away from being part of your culture. You have to let it go back out into the wild almost, and then learn how to cultivate it properly to survive this, because these animals are used to getting inoculations, they're used to getting regular food, they're used to getting regular water, and as much as we need it, they need it too. And being warm in certain situations, 52 below zero is not good for a cow, because they don't have enough hair on them to survive it. I mean, I lived on a dairy farm in Wisconsin when I was little. We had them in the barns. We had to. And we had big potbelly stoves. Well, you're not going to have potbelly stoves.
Challenging for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay,
We have to think about these things,
I want to pop up with another question, because I know this is not easy to answer, but I want to add to this question from Patsy. She's asking, how soon is this projected to occur on the big scale? My question would be, will we get any warning of this great solar flash? How much warning would we have? I mean, this could happen tomorrow, as far as we know, right?
No.
Okay.
No. There's a very clear progression of how things are going in terms of when the magnetic pole shift will be complete, when the solar micronova will happen, and when the crust will tilt. That's going to be probably sometime in the 2040s. That's actually relatively easy to track based on some big picture things that are happening. The hard part is, when does our grid go down? Because when that happens, prepping is over. Finding a new location, forget about it. There's no moving. There's no ordering stuff off Amazon. There's no going to the store.
There's no cars.
There's not. So prepping is done the moment our magnetic field gets weak enough that the sun can take out our power and send us back to the Stone Age. That could be tomorrow, or that could be 10 days before the great solar flash and all the rest of the bad stuff. There's no way to know. The end date, the worst of the worst, the zenith level events are predictable, but also at the same time, if the sun takes out power in next year, and we've got a decade to go or 2 decades to go, the vast majority of humans will never see the solar micronova. They will never see the great tsunamis. They will never see the earth turn over. Most of them will be dead from the lack of electricity between when the sun knocks out global power and all of those zenith level stuff. So it really depends on what the question is. If you want to see all the magical stuff, you got to survive all the way into probably the late 2040s. But that becomes much more challenging when the magnetic field weakens enough that the sun takes out global power. And it's not just that, but people are not holding it together well. And this is to be expected. And some of that is the diet, and some of that is the jab, and some of that is the media, and some of that is the news, and some of that is the music, and some of that is the pornography, and some of it is the social media and the dating apps and all the crap. And then there's something else that's happening too, because as this space energy, it's particle radiation, it's ionizing radiation. There's plenty of studies on what that does to the human brain. Degrades the hippocampus, the mitochondria in the hippocampus. Cognitive function goes down, which is a fancy way of saying you get a tiny bit dumber. At the same time, the locus coeruleus inside of your brain gets ultra excited. Now, this is the part of your brain that reacts emotionally instably to terror, fear, panic, anxiety. So if it seems like the entire world is getting just a little bit dumber and a lot more emotionally unstable and having fear reactions and anxiety and a whole lot of other stuff that's not very good, yes, they are. And there's a scientific reason for it, in addition to all of the ways that the world is sort of pushing us there from the engineered clown world aspect of things. The point I'm making is that's not getting any better. That's going to keep going in that direction as people succumb more and more and more to this changing electromagnetic environment.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. And that's why we say do everything you can to strengthen yourself up. Knowledge is power. Power in your mind it helps stabilize you so that whatever's incoming into you, you can still cognitively get through it. It strengthens the energy that you put out. You have a bioenergy field, and knowledge is one of those things that helps to strengthen that. Your heart helps to strengthen it. Your physicality strengthens it, and we all need to be working on that. Absolutely.
I think the best advice I could give anybody is just get out of these densely populated cities. You don't have a chance.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you might have a chance. All right, I'm going to bring up this question, which is a little different, but all questions are welcome. This is from Mish. Can the pyramids play a part in defending the Earth? May they have worked out how to use them? I'm not sure.
I don't think that they could protect the Earth. I think they could protect people inside of them.
Yes.
And
that would be good hold. Yeah.
But other than that, no. I mean, they essentially created several very large air pockets. Like if you've heard about in a cave, how like if there's like a part that goes up in a cave, if water goes there, the air pressure will keep more water from coming in. You could survive in there until waters recede. It's happened.
That's right.
It's the same basic concept here.
Yeah, we live near an underground situation that's just like that. Okay, there are caves that we can get to on foot that will put us in that position easily, and that's why I want to be here where I'm at. Okay. They're huge. They're enormous. A lot of people can get in them. If you're strong enough to get there, welcome to it. They're majorly way down in the ground, and there's several ways to get into them. That doesn't require electricity. So,
yeah, but I guess the point in mentioning the caves was that yes, the pyramids could have protected people in the exact same way that caves could. So I don't think that they really could have protected the whole Earth.
There's no magical, mystical thing to them. They're ancient.
And they're not that big. They're
No,
big,
they're not.
but they're not that big.
No.
They're still tiny little things on this planet.
Right.
Big Earth. It's a big Earth. Any other questions? I'm sure they've got some.
I'm not sure how you're going to feel about this one, but I'll pop it up. What's Ben's take on the Atlas object? Any curious electrical activity?
There hasn't been too much electrical activity, but it was noticed that its base state was the most electronegative that they have seen of any comet, which is not surprising given where it came from. If we continue to get interstellar comets, I imagine that the electrochemistry of them, not to mention the overall chemistry of them, should continue to be surprising. I haven't seen anything that suggests to me that that is some kind of alien ship or anything like that.
Thank you. No, me either.
He doesn't travel in conventional space anyway, so.
Yeah. So that's just me. I do think it's a comet. To be perfectly honest, its orbit is not uninteresting, but compared to Comet Ison, Comet Elenin, Comet Lovejoy, Comet Siding Spring, which actually passed through Mars' atmosphere, this comet is, I'd say, about a 7 out of 10 on the interesting scale. And we've had some 9s and 10s in my tenure on YouTube. We've had some scary stuff. 2011 through 2014 or 2015 was bananas for comets. Absolutely.
Look at Shoemaker-Levy. That was a crazy event.
That one was a little before me, and so was Comet Neat. But yeah,
it was bizarre. I know.
Those two. This one's not going to do anything like that. Almost certainly not going to do anything. I am interested to see the level to which its coma and tail grows as it gets a little closer here, but that's just simply an electromagnetic interest of mine. We are still at sunspot maximum, and comets are known to electrically stimulate photospheric activity, which is the basis of sunspot development, which is the basis of solar flaring, which is the basis of solar storms, what we've been talking about here. And so I am interested to see if we get a change in solar activity at its closest point to the sun, which should be coming up in just the next couple of weeks.
Now I have a question.
Sure.
Okay. You made me think of it. A lot of people are talking about the fact that most of our solar flares, our CMEs, are away, not Earth facing, that they're going around the sun, on the lens and in the back. Okay, that we don't have as many front facing as we do the other way. Is there a reason for that?
So I have several videos on what I have called the Earth-facing solar quiet.
Okay.
And fortunately, this is one of those weird ones. This is so weird. It's not even acknowledged, let alone studied scientifically by anybody. But here's what we do know. We do know that the same thing happened. So it started in November of 2011. Before that, there did not appear to be a CME directional preference.
Okay.
The same thing happened about 400 years ago. The Maunder science team noticed that right before, as the Maunder, the grand solar minimum, was coming on about 400 years ago, which triggered the Little Ice Age and many great famines on the planet at that time, that the sun was appearing to have its sunspots die when they were facing Earth, and there were far more sunspots being produced at the part of the sun that was turning away from us compared to turning into us or directly facing us. Mm-hmm. And they actually used the phrase, the Earth kills sunspots. They didn't know what else to say about it.
Right.
What's interesting is, if indeed this is a signal of grand solar minimum or an event like that, which many have speculated should be happening at some point soon.
Okay.
It's really super interesting, some of the patterns of civilization at the time. So, for example, 400 years ago, this occurred, right after the time when Galileo had kind of got it around everyone's head that the sun is the center of the solar system.
Yeah.
It is the powerhouse. And so the world collectively, in a relatively short period of time, saw the sun in a different way, began to appreciate it, look at it in awe, pay more attention to it, give it more thought and other things like that. And it got shy and it went to sleep. The same thing is happening right now. If you go back to February of 2010, maybe a few thousand scientists in the world actually care about what the sun is doing on a daily basis. And then they launch what's called the Solar Dynamics Observatory, which shows all the pretty colors of the sun that I show. You can see two examples of it right there. It allows us to see sunspots, coronal holes, filament activity, flares, everything in tons of different wavelengths, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, there's tens of millions of people studying the sun, looking at it in awe of the power of the sun, giving it consideration like it hasn't happened in centuries. And the sun gets shy again and starts going to sleep. Now, what's interesting is the best thing I can think of is that there's some kind of consciousness reaction, the electromagnetism, because consciousness are electromagnetic brain waves. They're just electromagnetic waves. And although they dull and dissipate, technically, every thought you have has an impact throughout the entire universe.
Right. 100%.
The Global Consciousness Project at Princeton was tracking this phenomenon for many years. They would track coherences of global consciousness of these brain waves, things like Christmas or Easter, or on New Year's, or during disasters like big earthquakes or terrorist bombings or plane crashes, things like that.
Right.
Then all of a sudden they had the biggest spike of coherence of global consciousness on Earth ever. Every global station started ringing like a bell. They'd never seen anything like it, but there was nothing going on. And several hours later, the first plane hit the tower on 9/11. And when the last plane went down in Pennsylvania, the signal stopped.
Wow.
They have shown that people's brainwaves can subconsciously be picked up by other individuals in close proximity and reacted to. And the individual, it's not like they're psychic. It's not like they have powers. They're doing anything. It's subconscious. It's the fact that they told the person in the other room exactly what to picture, what to think, what to say. and they noticed that this was having a statistically significant impact on what should have been a random distribution in another room of somebody's behaviors.
Right.
And so it goes both ways. These things affect us. We can detect it. We can affect the universe with our thoughts. Here's another way to think about it. What's the placebo effect? Everybody's just like, oh, it's the placebo effect. But you think something that is factually false, like you take a pill. It's like, oh, I took medicine. No, you didn't. You're wrong. You're actually wrong. False. Incorrect. And yet that belief overrules the laws of physics and chemistry and biology, science, and recreates the narrative inside of the field that you control.
Right. You have a higher consciousness. Okay. Your consciousness is who you really are, right?
So
your physical mind can be overcome by your consciousness. That's what's operating. We're able to conduct clean across the universe, communicate with one another 100% and everything in it without impediment, you know?
Quite ready to say that we're all able to just go like this and talk to each other.
Absolutely, you are. You have the ability. You should use it.
Telepathy has been proven. So is levitation and a bunch of other things that we consider superhuman.
The existence of special circumstances is a long way away from, hey, we can all do this.
Well, you have to learn.
There's an enormous gulf between those two. Okay.
Yeah. We know in medicine that certain things affect the physical mind, and they're putting 2 and 2 together now, and they know that inside your brain, you've got a pineal gland, okay, and it is a part of your endocrine system. It senses light and dark, but it is a transmitter as well because it hears and understands. It's part of your hippocampus communicating with your brain in all the different brainwaves, alpha, beta, theta, gamma, delta, on and on and on. Okay, it's actually part of that circuit in your physical mind. We're putting out those, we can transmit those out because we can wire you up and see that you're transmitting it out. It's physically leaving your cranium and going somewhere. And they understand now that consciousness, who you really are, because you're only indwelling this body, you know that, is all around you, and it's living with you. It's in you, on you, around you, everywhere.
It just goes to show how truly connected we all are. And let's face it, a bunch of people did predict 9/11.
Right.
Absolutely.
Including Alex Jones.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I like that. One of the things that they know for sure is that the introduction of certain chemicals into our societies, like fluoride, calcifies your pineal gland, and it's cutting you off from you using your intuition, your psychic abilities. It's your sixth sense. Literally, it's part of who we all are. We're supposed to be operating with this. And they now know, because they've done all the studies, and they know people who are pure, they didn't do fluoride, they didn't do all kinds of things, their bodies are chemically clear, they don't have a lot of plastic in them and everything. And these people are operating on a level psychically that is off the charts.
Okay, but so also a lot of that has to do with what's happening with the magnetic field. Just go back.
Part of that.
Go back 300 years. There was no fluoridated water system.
No, of course not.
There was no. But you know what? It has been a long time since anybody run across a wizard.
Right? Exactly. Yeah.
So, but here's the thing. I think wizards were once real. And stuff like that. But here's the thing. We're getting back into that now. Now,
yes.
Does that do we have time to figure all that out? And
no, you do not. That's the point. You're right. We don't have time. You got to work with what you got now at this point. I mean, what you have right now is what you're going to either make better or worse for yourself going forward. That's the point. You're exactly correct.
I'm going to have to do some daddy stuff in 9 minutes. So do you guys want to get some last questions here?
All right. What about the New Madrid fault?
Oh, yeah.
We're asking that.
It's going to be part of the liquefaction factor that cracks the center of the country, that causes the isostatic readjustment downward when the Gulf of America floods the center of the country, that causes it to permanently sink and the waterway to go from the Great Lakes down, cutting the country in half. When that's going to happen, I'm not Jesus. I don't have a crystal ball.
All right. Bianca is asking, do you have any graphics or simulations of all the things that are going on?
I have a ton of them on my channel. And in fact, every that show I put out every day. You know how in the YouTube boxes, there's like a box below it with like more information about the video. Inside of every single one of those, there's a list to like a short version and a long version explaining all of this disaster stuff and tons of graphics and simulations and other things like that.
Right. You've been working on this for years. Your playlist is incredible. I keep telling everybody, go to your playlist and just start watching,
Well, I recently made it much easier for people. Now they don't have to watch a whole playlist. They just go below one of the videos and they're like, do I want the full story, the long one, or the short one? They click it and it's one video. It's one video you have to watch. It's the easiest thing imaginable.
Cool.
I've been trying to make it easier and easier and easier for people as we go along, because at this point the puzzle is basically complete. Now I'm just like, all right, I can polish it like this. Ooh, what if I put a light on it over here, make it easier to see how cool this puzzle is? That's basically what we're doing at this point.
It's amazing. Well, now I have one thing to say real quick. Yeah. When is your film coming out? You know the dates? Because I know you said it was going to be free, right?
It will be. The private premiere night is November 15th at Observer Ranch.
Okay.
It'll come out publicly on YouTube a couple weeks after that. We don't know the exact date.
Okay.
But it's going to be coming out before the end of the year for sure. Very excited. Very excited.
Well, very cool. You're doing very important work. We really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you.
Do you have any last messages you want to leave people with?
Just that this takes awareness, this takes preparation. And yes, there's already a lot of things that we need to be monitoring. There's a lot of situations that need monitoring all the time. But here's another one, and this is actually the thing driving a lot of the other things. That's the why behind it. If you've managed to recognize a lot of these things, good for you. A lot of people aren't recognizing that they're happening, but a lot of people aren't recognizing the why. Why are they now being reckless? Why do they not care that we make the clown world memes and the jokes? They don't care that we know. Why? Why are there so many more UFO sightings? Why is our planet and our species all of a sudden this damn interesting? Why did they pull COVID out of nowhere? Why are they tearing down God and lifting up Satan? Why are they trying to promote degeneracy and stupidity and not education and morality and ethics and family? This is why. This is literally what is described in the book of Revelation, by the way, not just naturally. I mean, what's going to happen to the earth, what's going to happen to the sun is in that book, but also what happens to the people and the way they start to behave at the end. All of that is described in there. And again, the Bible's not the only book that has this story.
Right, so, exactly. Yeah.
I would say a great part, if I have to leave a last message, a great part would be I do a very, very quick 4 or 5 minute update. Seriously, the number of people who tell me they knock out full scientific, natural, cosmic awareness every day while they're either drinking coffee or pooping is unbelievable to me. Why they feel that I need to know that, I don't know. The point is, it's free on YouTube every day. It covers all of this important stuff. Anytime there's a huge announcement, I am screaming it from the hilltops. I could never have been in the military. I can't keep a secret to save my darn life. Seriously, I really can't. The moment anything happens, the moment there's something interesting, the moment there's a new fact, I am, here, take it.
That's the way it should be.
So
absolutely. The point, people, is subscribe to his channel now.
Space Weather News, and then in parentheses S0.
Right.
Or come see us at Observer Ranch. We love to see you in person. I like shaking your hands. I'm even nicer in person. Sometimes on my own live shows, I can get a little salty, but
we love it. It's absolutely worth watching. Yeah. Well, thanks again. This was amazing.
Oh, of course. I hope that I've given folks some interesting things to talk about, think about. I really appreciate you guys inviting me on. I thought I was only going to have an hour. We managed to get to a lot more stuff than I thought, which is good. I'm often feeling like I've got to triage the description and discussion of what's happening to this planet. You know what I mean?
Right.
I know exactly what you mean.
We'd like to give our guests a chance to just have the discussion and go with it. And I know you have 2 babies you have at home right now, right?
3.
3. Oh my God. Congratulations on the 3rd. I know about. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you got a big job. So that's amazing.
Well, I'm excited for your documentary because, I've been on TV a few times. They give you 2-minute segments. There's just no way you can get anything out. But the documentary, that'll be awesome.
That's right. And y'all should check out. Just don't go to Denver. Denver sucks. I can say that.
I don't like Denver.
Okay. I'm an observer. I can say that. And we're going to be in Denver in November. Not for 5 minutes, unfortunately. They're going to put us 5 minutes the heck out. I'm praying about it, okay? I'm praying hard. I don't want to stay in an airport 5 minutes more than I have to. And we're going away. And I wish we could come see it. Observer Ridge, I wish I could figure out how to do that. If we can't do it this year, I'm planning on trying to do it in the spring.
Yeah, well, Colorado Springs is an hour south of Denver, and then the ranch is an hour south of here. So it's about 2.5 hours, depending on which side of Sodom and Gomorrah you find yourself in.
Okay.
Okay. You never know. Circumstances might allow it.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks again.
You two are wonderful. It was a pleasure to connect in this way. Thank you very much. I can't wait to repost the stuff here on
awesomeness.
Everything else.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And we'll look forward to the premiere and the date that you're going to put it out to the public. We'll make sure that we put those links up in our show. And anytime you want to come on, if you have something really cool to talk about, please let me know and we'll have you right back. How's that?
Right on. Well, hey, thank you guys. Bless you both and all of your viewers as well. Keep your eyes up.
Yeah. Thank you, Ben. Talk to you later.
Very cool. Or as OG says, eyes open, stay safe.
That's right. Use your mind.
I've heard that somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
Bye.
Okay. All right. So we have 4 minutes. It's only 9:46 right now. And we have to close early tonight because we started early. So we're going to definitely stop by 10. Okay. Just saying. But we have a few minutes. Yeah.
We've got a few things to say. I thought that was really interesting, the things he was talking about. Just from my angle as someone who studied contactee reports, it's really gratifying to hear someone who has a scientific background that is as extensive as his to be saying the same things that ETs have been warning people about since the beginning.
That's right.
It's interesting to me how he kept saying, this is when people started, this is when the whole UFO thing ramped up. Same darn time when, all of this has started to become a real problem for us.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is that we all have a voice and we all have the ability to put this information out right now. And that's important to me. It's like number one in my mind that we all just need to spread the truth as quickly as possible so that people have a chance to decide how they're going to deal with this, and everybody deserves to know what the reality is. And Ben has worked really hard for this, very, very hard for many, many years. And I give him kudos for that. He reminds me of my dad in a weird sort of way. My dad held major abilities. He never went to college. My dad had an IQ of about 200, and he never went to college. He finished high school by mail, and then went on and he taught himself architecture and electrical engineering and aeronautical engineering, and he worked for NASA. He worked for the governments. And I hate it when I hear people disparage those who don't have a degree in exactly what they're trying to teach you. It doesn't mean a thing. We can teach ourselves anything. And
look at the movie Good Will Hunting.
That's right.
A perfect example of that.
Exactly.
It's a great movie.
Yes, reality is there are a lot of smart people out there, and Ben is definitely one of them. And I want you all to consider the fact that he is telling you the truth. He knows what he's talking about. And I want you all to go check his channel out, subscribe to it, and start paying attention, And the other thing I say to you all, and this is true, and he says this as almost as eloquently, I just say it a little bit differently. You have to live your life every day. It's important for you to know what's going on, but you can't stop living every day of your life. You just adjust as you go along to meet the needs that you have and to do it in joy, And it's so important, this isn't something you have to solve right now, but we have a timeline. You have some time here to make the decisions about all this.
Well, like several people said in chat too, no fear, we're immortal beings. We're here on a short time anyway.
Exactly.
But look at this, 828,000 subscribers.
I know, isn't that fantastic?
6.3K videos.
I want to see it hit 1 million. He needs more than that. He needs a couple million in there. I'm kind of hoping that this
He's close to it.
that he's putting out will put him up in that number.
So that's encouraging, Dolly, because you say sometimes people aren't listening. They're listening. People are absolutely.
I have my days where I'm very salty about the whole thing. No.
No, it's all right, because essentially you're right. Most people aren't, because what is 1 million people compared to the population of the Earth?
Billions.
It's not even.
Right.
What is it? 1% maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to do the math on that. But.
We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of talking to do. We have a lot of truth to be telling.
And here's the Observer Ranch, which would be so fun to visit.
I know. It's really cool. If you have a camper, you can go out there and he has spots, you can hook up water and electricity for you. And they have a learning center, and they have a center for children to come and learn as well. They do classes there in all of the fields of survival and everything. Ben teaches a lot of them. In the next few weeks, he's going to be doing like how to handle yourself with a weaponry and stuff like that. And they have hand-to-hand combat classes. They have nutrition classes. They have how to make it's just every element of surviving is being taught there, and it's really, really interesting. You should look it up, look into it. It's fantastic. It's one of the greatest resources we all have, especially in this country, because it's in this country. Avail yourselves of it. It's important.
Yeah, well, it's amazing to me that he's become like the go-to guy, and there aren't a lot of people saying this, because this is something, if you absolutely do your research, it is factual. This is not someone making stuff up.
Right.
It's absolutely pure science, and so
we
important.
all have to realize that one of the reasons the government is allowing everything to go insane and they're doing what they're doing is because they have done with their preparations. They are ready to meet what this is. They think they are. Okay. And what happens to us now is moot to them. They don't care anymore. We are not
doing the math for me. There's 1,000 millions and 1 billion, so we have 8,000 million people. That's hard to even wrap my mind around.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I know. It's a lot of us.
That would be 1.8 of the population.
Right.
That is crazy. That's how many people we have. Thanks, Cal. That kind of helps to picture it. Or
yes.
No, wait, 1/8,000th of the population.
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and you guys remember those links are in the show notes. And I know he says he didn't want to really get into the fact that he has some books out there, but he does. Weatherman to the Sun.
Listen, let me tell you something. He does shows on the weekends. He does them late at night. Like if you're in his subscribe thing, it'll pop it up on YouTube for you. Like I'll just be moving along, and all of a sudden, whoop, it'll come up in my thing, and I'll say, "Oh, he's on right now. Go watch." And he does something every single day. He has a show in the morning. It's every day. He's right, 365 year-round. He doesn't stop doing that. But then he has other things, and he explains things, and he tells you about things. And he's really, really, really good at what he does. And it's something. It's better than watching, stupid stuff on TV. It really is. Learn all that is learnable. I mean, I say that all the time. Learning the truth is lots of fun. It's interesting. I'm glad you
convinced him to get on the show, because it was a big cat.
To figure it out. I'm being honest here. He said he went off of Facebook. Then he's on YouTube, and I was trying to figure out how do I get a direct line into him. And then he goes, "It's on X. Figure it out." And then we had things going on, and I thought, what's the best time? What's the best time? And then I finally went up on X, and I sent him the message, and he's the most amiable, accommodating person I've ever met in all of this. He said, "Sure, I'll come up." And I mean, he just said, "Give me a date." And I did. And he said, "Warn me in a couple hours ahead of time." And I did. And he showed up. So that's amazing. It's wonderful. I think it's wonderful.
Yep.
I'm a fan of what he does. Absolutely.
YouTube blocks me from sharing Ben's channel links. Why doesn't that surprise me?
Yeah, well,
Unfortunate.
yeah, we have, yeah. It's one of my concerns.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think they're going to go after him completely on YouTube. I just think it's the analytics. Keep trying. You'll figure it out. Okay. And he's all over my Facebook channel. He's on, I mean, just go look. I put him up every day. You can just go to my channel and boop, there it is. You know, until you can click on it and then subscribe. Important.
Yeah. So there's the links on the little ticker tape for you guys. Well, we're out of time, Dolly. That was awesome. What an amazing show. Hold on a second. I do want to give a shout out to some of the folks here who so very generously donated. Namaste. We love you very much. And it's amazing how much what Ben was talking about is what Dolly has been taught by the ETs. I think that is crazy amazing. Thank you, Namaste. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Star Orchid, we appreciate it. Becky Sloan, you guys, this helps us so much. Bob Thorson, thank you, guys. It truly does help us.
Thank you so much. Yes.
All you other folks out there who
keeping us on air. Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
Very much. We love all of you. Thank you for joining us. This was a fun show. As Kel says, we are eternal souls. We cannot die. There's no need for fear.
That's right. 100%.
And Dolly, here's a quick question. We have time. Dolly, is a contactee, what is the greater plan? Are hybrid beings being produced to repopulate the Earth after the disaster? Quickly.
We are all the children of ET. They are our progenitors. And what you keep referring to as a hybrid is just good breeding. Okay, I want you to understand that. We are them, they're us, we're all one. Okay, just like with God, we're all in the same boat together. We are all one. Okay. They mean for us to help ourselves. They mean for us to be wise and to learn everything that we can. And we're infinitely interesting to them because of this. They are not going to interfere or get in our way of us deciding how we're going to run through this. Okay. There could be a big rescue coming up, but let's get through this other stuff first. We have to keep our eye on the ball and the progression of things as they're coming. Okay. But I want you to know it's up to you, your decision. You right now, every individual there is, we have to decide how we're going to deal with this. We have to decide what we're going to do or not do. We have to decide to learn to love one another. You know, it says that even in the Bible, love one another, absolutely love one another. So yeah, you know.
Yeah. ETs are going to rescue some folks if you can survive.
Yep. If you're ready, they'll pick you up eventually. Okay.
Okay. Here's one question which we never got to. Sorry, Lynn. This one escaped me. What's going on with NASA saying we now have 2 moons? The other one's not really a moon, is it? It's just a tiny little thing?
Yeah, it's not really a moon. No, it's just a rock. Don't worry about it.
All right.
It's a satellite, okay? It's an objectional satellite. It's an object, okay?
All right. I guess that's it, Dolly. I guess we're ready to close it up.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. This was a really big one for me. I've been waiting for a long time to get Ben to come on. I'm so happy it happened.
Quick update on Symmetry 2. It's coming soon. I'm working hard on it.
Yeah, we're busting butt. That's right.
Sorry,
Okay.
go ahead.
All right. We love you all very much. We hope you come again next Monday to see us again. We are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We're on Facebook, we're on Roku, we're on Rumble, and we're on YouTube. Everyone, I want you to have a wonderful week. I want you to find what you need to find and learn what you need to learn and be enjoy, all of you. We love you very much. Bye. See you later.
Bye.